Recognize this scene? It takes place each and every day in thousands of homes all across America. It's the evening meal, one of the few times a busy family gathers together. Although the setting's familiar, the family you see here is fictional. This family was created to help illustrate some issues faced by most families today. Maybe you can relate to some of these situations and even see a little of yourself in one or more of the family members. Family Time Out was developed to give your family a unique opportunity, a chance to take time out from the rest of the world, join together, and share your ideas, problems, thoughts, hopes, and frustrations. To use this tape effectively, we hope you and your family will sit down together each evening for the next month and watch just one of the 30 different scenes on this tape. Each one lasts anywhere from 1.5 to 3 minutes and focuses on a problem common to many of today's families. You might discover some things you've been wanting to discuss with your family for a long time, but didn't know how to begin. These tape segments were not designed to give advice or answers, but to promote discussion among your family. Ideally, you'll begin to share your feelings about the topics you see dramatized and learn to communicate, to open up with one another more effectively. Watch each one of the scenes, then stop the tape and discuss what you've seen right away. Or simply think about the problems and talk about them some other time. Or merely enjoy them as entertainment. The choice is yours. In any event, Family Time Out was created as a vehicle to help you communicate better with your own family. Even if you and your family can't relate personally to every one of the topics, this tape was designed to serve as a stimulus for discussion within your family. We hope you use it and enjoy it. Now let's meet the family you'll be seeing for the next 30 days. Paula Madison sells computer systems to local corporations. Paula was honored as her company's top salesperson for the last 3 years. She's 34 years old, an avid reader, and enjoys outdoor activities. She's been married for 16 years to David, who's 39 years old. David worked his way through college and graduated with a degree in business administration. Employed by an investment company, he left the firm to become vice president of a rival firm. David's climb up the career ladder has taken its toll. His responsibilities have increased, forcing him to spend more and more time at the office. Patty is 15 years old and goes to a private coeducational high school. She excels in English, but achieves only average grades. Patty prefers to spend her time socializing, and her parents have been told repeatedly by teachers that she doesn't apply herself. Like her mother, Patty loves to water ski and swim. She's outgoing and dreams of becoming a high school cheerleader. Brian is 10. He has a tendency to be quiet and shy, but he adores animals. And right now, Brian's planning to become a veterinarian or a zookeeper. To help him overcome his shyness, Brian's mom and dad have encouraged him to get involved in Little League Baseball and scouting. At 7 years old, Amy is the youngest child. She was an unexpected but very welcome addition to the family. She's spoiled by everyone, but is especially close to her father. Amy's unusually intelligent, but a little immature compared to the other children in her second grade class. Extremely energetic, Amy has tomboy tendencies and a terrible temper. Mrs. Edith Johnson is David's mother. She divorced his father while David was still in college and later remarried at the age of 50. Edith moved in with David and his family last year when her second husband died of a heart attack. She's 66 years old and is active in the Senior Citizen Center. Edith enjoys knitting, but occasional bouts with arthritis limit her activities. Now that you know a little bit more about the Madison family, we'd like you to watch the first scene. When it's over, simply stop the tape and spend some time with your family talking about what you've seen, or just think about it. Then tomorrow, put the tape back in and watch the next scenario. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and hopefully communicate.
Have you decided where you want to eat?
Not really.
Pizza? Brian, it makes me fat. Well, I don't want to go to that dumb place where all your friends are. I hate that place. Maybe Mom and Dad will let Becky go with me. Then we can eat where we want to.
There they go again. Why can't they ever agree on anything?
No fair. Mom said Tommy couldn't come with me, so Becky can't go either.
I don't like Becky. She won't play with me.
I
Why does everything have to be so difficult? Every time we try to do something as a family, the kids end up in a fight. I get so tired of it sometimes. I know they're special people, too. They each have special likes and dislikes. But how am I supposed to make a fair decision? Patty can't go anywhere without a friend. Brian is always picking at her. And Amy hates to stay with a babysitter. After raising those three, I feel like I'm qualified to mediate an international dispute. Paula always wants to give in and draw straws or something. I just don't think the kids should run the show. After all, Paula and I should decide where we go as a family. They get me so upset. Usually I just say, that's it. We end up staying home and eating frozen dinners. But that's not fair either. Maybe I should make Patty stay with Brian and Amy. That way Paula and I could enjoy a quiet dinner alone. So much for family unity.
Well, Brian, how was school today?
Oh, all right.
Patty, how'd Cherry like the new sweater I made for you? I thought you looked darling in it this morning. Did anyone say anything?
No, it was fine. Thanks, Granny.
Well, I thought maybe Saturday we could go look for some pants to match it. Do you have anything planned?
I'm sorry, Gran, but I just love this show. Can you wait just a minute, okay?
Sometimes I wonder how my family stays together. They seem like strangers, never talking, never. All they do is rush, 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 all the time. I just wonder where they're going. Maybe I'm old-fashioned and I hate to criticize, but I wonder what would happen if they had to go without television for a whole week. Paula and David don't seem to notice how it dominates their family time. When David was growing up, I made a rule that dinner was to be a quiet time of talking. Well, some of my fondest memories are things the family did and said at the table. I felt we were a real family. Maybe I'm wrong. After all, we weren't perfect either. I do know one thing. When these children are grown and gone, Paula and David will sit at this big table and wonder where the days and weeks and hours went. I'll bet they wish they had turned off the TV and spent more time together. This big table will seem terribly lonely. I know, because I watched my own table become empty over the years. And now I eat with a family who seems to listen to television more than they listen to each other.
What's wrong with Amy? Brian says she's been crying all night. Is she sick?
Shh, not so loud, sweetheart. I just got her to sleep. She's had a rough day. She's really, really sad. See, one of her best friends is leaving town. Her daddy was transferred. In fact, she leaves town tomorrow. Poor little Amy came home from the going away party all in tears. There was nothing I could do or say that would cheer her up. Finally, she just cried herself to sleep in my arms. She's gonna miss that little friend so much. I certainly hope she feels better tomorrow.
It takes a lot to make Amy cry that much. She's pretty tough. She must feel like the whole world is just falling apart. I remember losing my best friend. We were a little older, 3rd grade, I think. Kathy and I were together all the time. We dressed alike, talked alike, and shared all our deepest secrets. When she moved, I thought I would just die. I was sure I'd never have another best friend. Mom baked my favorite cookies the first night after Kathy left. She did everything she could to make that hurt go away. But even the cookies didn't help. Maybe it's a part of getting older. All I know is that losing Kathy was the first time that I really hurt inside. In fact, I still think about her sometimes. We don't write her anything, but I'll always remember her. And I'll never forget how bad it hurt to say goodbye. And now Amy's going through the same thing. I wish I could help, but there's nothing I can tell her, except maybe that it gets better with time. But sometimes it takes a long, long time, and it does get better.
Oh, come on, Mom, you promised. You know those shoes are it. You promised we could buy them before school started.
By the way, Paula, I think we ought to talk about getting a new car. The bill from the shop today was over $500. Think you can fit it in the budget?
Guess what, Mom? Scout Troop is taking this really great trip. We're going to Florida for a big jamboree. Guys from all over the country will be there. I can't wait. Mr. Williams said he'll send you a note about the cost. I can go, can I? Please say yes.
You know, it doesn't matter how much money David and I bring home each month. It's never enough. We both make a decent salary, but supporting a family this size can be very expensive. Everyone just takes it for granted that we have plenty of money. The kids, they like nice clothes, they expect an allowance, and plenty of presents during the holidays. Normal kids. The trouble is, I can't even make David understand. It is so frustrating to work as hard as we do and still worry constantly about money. You know what really scares me? That we're not saving anything. I look at David's mom, and I see myself in a few years. Unless we change our priorities, David and I won't have anything to retire on either. We'll have to ask the kids for money. I just don't know what to do. Now, I wouldn't want Patty to get a job yet. I think her grades would suffer. And I just hate saying no constantly. I sound like an old tightwad. No, no, no. We all deserve the nice things in life, but hey, something's got to give. We really do need a new car, but I shudder to think about what it'll do to us financially. If only everyone could understand what a strain these bills are, maybe we could find a solution. You know, it won't be too many more years before Patty will go off to college, and I don't have the slightest idea where we're going to find the money. We may even have to borrow against this house. But then what happens when Brian and Amy are ready for college? And where will David and I live when our house is sold on the auction block to pay for the kids' education? Oh, boy. Oh, never mind. But you know, sometimes these bills make me crazy.
$7:30, and I'm just now getting home. This is the third time this week I've had to work late at the office. I can already hear Paula's comments. Dinner will be cold. Patty will need help with her geometry, and Brian will ask me to work on the Scout project. What else? Oh, yeah, I promised Mom I'd fix the doorknob in her bedroom. And Amy will want a bedtime story, a long one. When did life get so difficult? I can't even remember the last time I had a chance to relax without someone wanting me to work on something. I thought I could juggle the new job and still have things great at home. And I keep dropping more and more balls. And don't think I don't hear about it when I do let something slide. I don't know which is worse, the continual pressure to work harder at the office or the constant demands at home. It would be different if I was late getting home because I stopped off for happy hour. What a joke. I dread coming home, but at least I do. I know lots of guys with families who spend at least an hour relaxing in a bar or working out at the club before they head home. Not me, no, sir. I come straight to the house like a lamb to the slaughter. A few years ago, I could handle all this. Maybe I had more energy. I don't know. But now I wonder if the effort is even worth it. Sometimes I actually dream about just dropping it all and taking off. Alone.
Daddy's
I remember why I stay.
Okay, you look much better with your new dress on. Now you're the mommy. And you're the daddy. And you can be the baby. And you will be the stepmom. I wonder who my stepmom is. My best friend told me that her daddy got married, and now she has a stepmom. But I don't understand. My mommy read me a story one time about a wicked old woman. She was Cinderella's stepmother. But Jennifer said that her stepmom is really nice. She said her mommy and daddy got a divorce, and they live in different houses. Sometimes she goes to see her daddy on weekends. Jennifer said she really misses her daddy, especially at night, because he always tucked her in bed and told her funny stories. One boy in my class lives with just his daddy. He doesn't even see his mommy anymore. I feel sorry for him. Jennifer didn't cry about her new stepmom. Now she has 2 bedrooms and 2 bicycles and 2 toy boxes. She's lucky. I wish I had that many toys. And her daddy told her that she would have 2 Christmases this year, one at each house. But I don't want my daddy to move away. Then I couldn't see him all the time. I think one mommy and daddy is enough. But Jennifer told me that everybody gets a stepmom in the family. I wonder when we'll get one.
One more hour and Mom's taking me to a great movie. Everybody at school's already been talking about it. It's this family on a spaceship. Mom promised yesterday we'd go. This is going to be great.
David, guess what? Hey, I ran into Marge Cuckler at the grocery store. She and Bill are having a barbecue today. In fact, it starts in about an hour. She invited us to come, and I would love to go. Get changed, okay? Hey, we'll be late tonight, so I'll go talk to Patty about babysitting.
She promised. Mom promised she'd take me to the movies. I've been waiting all day. Mom and Dad are always telling me not to lie, to keep my word no matter what. But now Mom has lied to me. She said we were going, and now we're not. How come parents don't have to keep their promises? Last week on the phone, she made me tell Mrs. Cuckler she wasn't home, but she was standing right next to me. Mom said that I just told a little white lie. But Dad said, a truth is a truth and a lie is a lie. Maybe you only have to tell the truth and keep your promises when you're a kid. Grown-ups always say one thing, then do something else. It isn't fair. Why did I even get dressed? I should have known we wouldn't go. Dad said he'd take me 2 weeks ago, and he didn't either. They sure would get mad at me if I told a lie like that. Telling lies is supposed to be bad, but maybe it's only bad if someone catches you.
And an E and a double L-O. Those writers have come to say hello, hello. From Patty.
I want to have a talk with you, young lady. Sit down.
What's the matter, Dad? Are you mad at me?
You better believe I'm mad. I walked by Brian's room just now. And do you know what he's doing? Your little brother is sitting in the corner of his room crying. I finally got him to tell me what happened. And it turns out that the reason your brother's crying is because of you.
What did I do?
Brian said you were teasing him about the crush he has on a girl in his class. Did you tell him that he was wasting his time because girls went for looks, not brains? Did you?
I was just kidding, Dad. Brian's always teasing me about my boyfriends. Can't he take a taste of his own medicine?
Well, it turns out, young lady, that the little girl told him she didn't like him. She said she likes a really cute boy, some guy named Tony. So now your brother is convinced that you were serious and that he's ugly. He's devastated, and a lot of this is your fault. Teasing is wrong, and I will not allow it in this family. Do you hear me? I'm so mad at you, I don't know what to do. We'll talk about punishment later.
Man, I never expected Brian to believe me. I was just teasing. He's an okay-looking guy. I didn't mean what I said. I wonder who that little girl is who put him down. Boy, I'd like to get my hands on her. Who does she think she is, telling my brother that he's not good-looking enough? That little creep. Listen to me. I sound just like my dad. No wonder he's mad. Boy, I really blew it this time. No telling what he's gonna do to me now. But I really didn't mean to hurt Brian. I was just teasing.
Grandmother, my friend and teacher, by Patty Madison, my granddaughter. My grandmother moved into our house last year. At first, I thought our house would be too crowded and Granny would get in the way. I hadn't been with her very much because she lived in Florida until her husband died, so I didn't really know what to expect. At first, it was uncomfortable. She seemed so old, and I felt we had nothing in common. Granny must have been very unhappy because she stayed in her room most of the time. Then one day, as I walked past her room, I heard some really neat music. I thought it was on the radio, but when I went in, Granny was listening to some of her favorite albums. I couldn't believe music that great was made so many years ago. We started talking about music, and I brought in some cassette tapes that I really like. Before I knew it, Granny was tapping her foot and laughing. Since that day, we've become really close. She knows so many neat things like how to make natural makeup and how to knit beautiful sweaters. She told me once that it's difficult for her to live here sometimes. Her arthritis keeps her from really helping out around the house, and she can't go camping with us. I think she feels left out. I just wish I could tell Grandmother how much she means to me. She seems to understand how hard it is to be a teenager. In fact, I can tell her things I'd never tell anyone else in the whole world. My grandmother is my friend and my teacher. The day she moved in our house was one of the best days of my life.
refuse. I will not answer you. I won't. You know, this is the first free day I have had in months. And whoever you are, you probably want me to do something for you. So you can just wring your silly old head off because nobody's home. Oh, what if that was the school calling to tell me one of the kids is hurt? Or David. Maybe it was David and the car won't start again. I know. Cut it out. Who made me mother of the world, right? Here I am, with absolutely nothing to do until this afternoon, and I can't relax and just enjoy myself. You know, for the past hour, I've tortured myself with a mental list of things that need to get done. For example, the floor. It needs a good stripping, and it needs to be re-waxed. David has a pile of dry cleaning that needs to be dropped off. Patty has 2 pairs of slacks that need to be hemmed, and there is no food in this entire house. What did I forget? Let's see. Oh, yes, the bookkeeping is about 2 months behind, and the flower bed needs weeding, and I could go on like this forever. You know, the constant work keeps me awake at night. I plan how to best utilize my daytime hours. You know, if there were just 12 more hours to each day, I just might get caught up. And here I sit on my fat rump, acting like the Queen of England, too lazy to answer the dumb phone. I'm tired. Good, old-fashioned, bone-weary tired. David convinced me to take a day off from work and rest. Even he's noticed how all this is really getting to me. But how can I rest, knowing all the things I should be doing? It's not necessarily the work that's so exhausting. I think what's really depressing me is the fact that it's endless. It never goes away. You know, the harder I work to have a career, keep a clean house, and raise 3 good kids, seems like the further behind I get. Should I answer it? I can't sit around here all day. There's just too much to do. Maybe I should answer the telephone. Or maybe I could have one more cup of coffee.
Brian, just leave me alone. Go away, okay?
I don't want to play G.I. Joe. If we can't play in my dollhouse, I don't want to play with you at all.
Brian, can't you find something to do? You've been underfoot all day long. Why don't you go find your father and see if he can play with you?
I'm sorry, Brian, but I'm in a hurry. I have to run back down to the office and meet a client. I'll see you later.
Nobody likes me anymore. I don't even have any friends. Tommy moved, and Mom never has time to take me over there, and Tommy's mom works all the time. At school, I try to make friends, but there's nobody in my class this year I really like. They picked class monitors today, and they had a runoff, and I wasn't even in it. I never get picked for anything. Mom says I'm too quiet, but I don't know how to be any other way. I talk around here, but it doesn't do any good. Nobody ever listens. Patty thinks she's so grown up, and Amy's just a baby. I sure wish I had a brother. Then I'd have someone to play with all the time. And I bet he'd like my G.I. Joes. Dad says there won't be any more babies, so I guess I won't ever get a little brother. Mom's busy with dinner, and when Dad gets back, he'll be too tired to play with me. The only person around here to play with is me, and I'm tired of always playing by myself. I really want a dog. But since Tippy got run over, Dad says no more pets. I just wish someone would play with me.
you sure we should go this weekend? I feel kind of guilty leaving the kids behind. They'd enjoy going with us. Amy was so disappointed.
Paula, they'll be just fine. Mom is here in case anything happens, and she knows how to get in touch with us.
I just don't know. I don't feel right gallivanting around the country while we leave the kids behind. What if one of them gets sick?
What if the Russians should attack?
What'd you say?
I said we can still turn back.
Maybe we should stay home. What do you think?
What do I think? I think that we need some time together alone. That's what I think. It's been months since we've had any time without the kids. We haven't spent the night away from home together since Amy was born. When we were first married, Paul and I took off somewhere almost every weekend. Sometimes we just camped or drove along old country roads looking for antiques. But we were together. We talked about everything we could think of. We were so close. It's not that I resent the children. I love having a family, and I'm fortunate to have such great kids. But they have come between us. They take most of our time, and it's our responsibility to see that they get plenty of love and attention. What about us? Where does our marriage fit? This family is based on the love and respect Paula and I have for each other. But sometimes I feel like we need a refresher course, especially in the love department. We drift away from each other sometimes because of the commitments we've made to other people, the kids, our jobs, friends. I wonder if Paula sees that we've got to keep a strong foundation between the two of us. I really need some time with my wife, away from home and the children. What if she doesn't want to be alone with me? Maybe that's why she's resisted this trip. Is it possible that she's lost a desire to be alone together? It would make sense, considering how she's found every conceivable excuse to stay home. Well, that's not necessarily true. Maybe she's just concerned about the children. Sometimes I wish she'd stop being a mother just for one weekend and try to concentrate on being a wife.
Patty, I'm going to run down the street a few minutes. I'll be back before Mom and Dad get home from work, okay?
What's going on down the street?
Oh, there's a new family moving in, and I want to go look at them.
Go look at them. What's wrong with them? Are they from outer space or something?
That's funny. The guys say that they're Dagos, and I want to go see what a Dago looks like. I've never seen one.
Brian Madison, that is the worst thing I've ever heard you say in your entire life. You, of all people, calling an Italian family something like Dago. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Italian? Does she mean that the family is Italian? Oh, wow. I thought it meant something like a circus performer or gypsies. Something neat like that. I didn't know what the guys were talking about. It's a real drag to make fun of people just because they're from another country. Mom says that her mother was born in France and moved to America as a little girl. I guess that means I'm kind of from another country, too. I better not tell the guys. They'd probably make fun of French people, and I'd be stuck with it the rest of my life. My buddy Jack says that we shouldn't allow foreigners in this country. He says we should ship everyone that's not from America right back to where they came from. Jack's dad's always screaming bad names at people. Sometimes it's about their color, and sometimes it's about their religion. I don't go over there anymore. He's kind of a jerk. Come to think of it, isn't my best friend Tommy from England? His family talks funny, but they're real nice. I wonder if Jack's father would ship them back too.
I really don't care what you say. I think this situation is clearly discriminatory, and I'd rather discuss it with you in the office. Goodbye. David, will you watch the cookies, please? I need to get some fresh air.
Daddy, what's discriminatory?
That's discriminatory, Amy. It means prejudice. Sort of like treating one person better than another. How do I explain to these children that Paula is upset because her company's hired a new salesman and is paying him the same salary and commission she worked 5 long years to earn? And the boss explained it to Paula by saying the new worker is a man. I wonder if things will be different by the time Amy's working. I sure hope so. Great things have happened for women in the past decade. At least there are more opportunities for a career. But I have realized that women are still not always being treated fairly. Take Paula, for instance. Mr. Meadows seems to think that a man's income is more vital to the family than a woman's. Well, I've got news for him. If it weren't for the money Paula earns each month, this family could never make it. We were really in trouble right after I began my new job. I had to build up a good clientele before I could make a decent paycheck. Poor Paula. I really feel sorry for her. It's so unfair. She's given that company 100% every day. In my opinion, they don't deserve her. How do you explain all this to little children? All they know is their mother's upset, and it's because of her job. How do I tell them it's because she's a woman?
I hope you're working on the computer, young lady. You haven't spent any time on it in days. You know how important it is for you, and you won't pass if you don't study hard. Patty, are you listening? Did you hear me?
Yes, Mom, I heard you.
Good. Well, are you working on the computer?
Yes, Mom, I'm working on the computer. To be more precise, this computer is just working on me. Error? That's exactly what this whole thing is. Just one big error. I hate this computer. I've always hated it, and I always will. I can't believe I let Mom and Dad talk me into concentrating on business and computer technology. What a drag. But I didn't want to disappoint them. They were so proud when I agreed to follow in their footsteps. I wish they could see that my feet aren't the same size as theirs and shouldn't have to walk in the same direction. I checked into some art courses last week. How I would love to paint and sculpt. Study with the gifted artists. I think I have some talent. No, I'm sure I do. But I can just see Mom and Dad if I cruised in one night and announced that I was dropping business for art. Mom would probably faint. And Dad? Well, Dad might understand. He wouldn't let me change, but he might understand. So what do? Take their advice and live the rest of my life behind this little boring screen? Or make my own choice, become an artist, and beg for food from door to door after Mom and Dad kick me out of the house? Some choice, huh? And everybody believes her. That girl's spreading lies about me all over school, and there's nothing I can do about it. Of course I'm sure. Last week, Wesley walked me to every one of my classes. Now he won't even look at me. Missy's been on the phone with him a lot. I know because her little sister told Brian. Missy's always liked him. No telling what she says about me. It's just not fair, Becky. I can't believe this is happening to me. It's just not fair. Well, I gotta go now, okay? Talk to you later. Bye.
Patty, whoever told you life is fair? I guess that's the hardest lesson you learn growing up. We don't always get what we want. That good girls do finish last sometimes, and being right doesn't always work. Listen to me, as if it were a lesson you learned growing up. Truth is, and it's inescapable fact, that you never fully accept. We always hang on, thinking things will turn out our way in the end. Many times it does. But there are just as many times things happen that we cannot understand or accept. Even at my ripe old age, I wonder about the justice in life. For 50 years, I walked this earth without the benefit of a truly good man, one that I loved with my whole heart and soul. And when I did find him, when I finally had a chance to truly experience an unbreakable bond, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive, and that life was so rich and wonderful. And then just like that, he's gone. He suffers through open heart surgery and then dies anyway. His passing left a hole in my life that nothing could ever fill. We were together for such a short time, such a miserably short time. That beautiful man was in my life just long enough to give me a taste of joy. And then he was gone. Yes, Patty, my baby, life is unfair. Injustice is brought down on the head of both the good and the bad. And it's difficult sometimes to believe that living a good life makes any difference at all. When Ted died, I thought that life was too unfair to continue living. I thought losing that man that I loved so dearly, that I had searched for so long, was the greatest injustice imaginable. But then I realized it was not nearly so unjust as if I'd never found him at all.
Well, that's it. Time for bed, sweetheart.
Daddy, what's a gamp?
What? What did you say, Amy?
A gamp. There's a boy in our class that has a metal thing on his leg. He walks real funny. And the other kids make fun of him and call him a gimp on the playground. It made him cry.
Children can be so cruel. There's no way they can understand what a handicap is when they're all normal and healthy. How can I make Amy understand that the little boy is a victim of something he couldn't control? I wonder if at her age she can even understand what it's like to have a handicap. That poor kid must struggle twice as hard as the other children just to get around. And all the other kids poking fun at him probably doesn't make it any easier. I wish Amy could put herself in his place. Just imagine never being able to run, jump, play ball. But Amy's so young. Really just a baby. At least she's thinking about today. I guess his crying really moved her. Having a physical handicap is bad enough, but to be teased by healthy children is a completely different kind of torture. Amy's healthy and strong. And I'm so grateful. But how can I make her understand just how fortunate she is? Just one more thing, Brian, and you'll be all set to camp out tonight. Maybe it's still in the box. I'll go inside and check.
I've never camped out alone before. Sure gets dark out here at night. Maybe I could ask Dad to stay out here with me. No way! He'd think I was a sissy if I told him I was scared. After all, I can go inside, and I'm not far from the house anyway. But what if someone tries to get me while I'm asleep? I might not even hear them. They could just sneak up and get me. That's dumb. Why would anyone try to get me? Maybe Dad would volunteer to stay out here. He wouldn't let anything happen. He probably did stuff like this all the time when he was a kid. I bet he even stayed in the woods alone. He'd really think I was weird if I told him I was too scared to sleep right outside the back door.
I found it. Why don't you get in the tent and spread out your sleeping bag, Brian? You got lots of room. Be great having all that space to yourself, huh?
Sure, Dad.
You know, I'm really proud of Brian. I can't believe he's old enough to camp out all by himself. I mean, I know he's just in the backyard, but I think it takes a lot of courage for a little guy to be outside alone all night. There was no way I would have done it when I was his age. I was terrified of the dark. Mom used to tell me that my imagination was too vivid, but I remember those monsters seemed pretty real to me. One time, my brother and I stayed out camping. Even with him in the tent, I stayed awake half the night. Every sound I heard was some monster coming to get me. That was the last time I camped out until I was an adult. Brian is probably too level-headed to think about ghosts and goblins. He's so reserved, he probably wouldn't tell me if he did. Sometimes I see myself in Brian, but other times he's not the least like me. I think I'll miss sleeping out here with him. We had so much fun last summer. Paula would fix us a special camping out meal, and we'd stay up late talking. Even the dog joined in. And one night it rained. We looked like a couple of drowned rats the next morning, but it really was fun. Maybe I should offer to stay out here with him tonight. We don't get to be alone much. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. I wouldn't want him to think I don't trust him, and I certainly don't want to communicate my old fears to him. Obviously, he isn't afraid of the dark.
I don't know why.
Because I chase parked cars.
Oh, God.
Oh, wait, it's your turn. Go.
Okay.
Somebody told a real funny one the other day about a Smurf and a blue moon or something. I can't remember.
You are so selfish, David. What makes you think your free time is more valuable than mine? You're completely unfair to me.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm sick to death of listening to you complain all the time. If your life is so miserable, why don't you just leave? I'm sure you could find a better man on any street corner.
Stop it! Stop it! Mommy should yell my daddy. I'm gonna make them stop.
This house is just as much mine as it is yours. In fact, if you count the hours I spend cleaning it and taking care of it, it should be mine. Can't you get that through your thick head, David? We need to have equal roles. I am not your maid.
Oh, how well I know that. I've heard that from you for years. I wish you would get off my back. You know, I don't think of you as our maid. I mean, if house cleaning is such a chore to you, why don't we go out and hire a maid? Maybe that way I'd get some peace and quiet for a change.
I hate it when they fight like this. Why can't they be nice to each other? My head hurts. So does my stomach. How can I make them stop? Maybe it's my fault. Mom did ask me to clean up my room, but I forgot. Dad gets so mad. What if he hits Mom? I wish someone would make them stop.
Now look what you've done. How can you be so insensitive?
Me insensitive? That's a laugh. You're the one who started this. You pick a fight with me at least once a week. I'm sick of it.
They're disgusting. Mom's right. Dad never helps around here. But why fight about it? He's not going to change. I just wish they'd have the courtesy to go someplace else and fight. If I could drive, I'd leave here right now and never come back. Maybe that would shut them up. I'd even take Brian and Amy. Boy, that would show them. Thank goodness none of my friends are here. I thought I'd die the time Sherry spent the night and they got into it. They thought we couldn't hear. But Sherry, she spread it all over school. Sometimes they just make me sick. If this is what marriage is about, I'm staying single the rest of my life.
We can't afford a maid. When are you going to learn we have financial limits? Boy, does that siren bring back memories. You know, every time I set the table, I think about the break-in. My mother's bone china that had been in our family for 3 generations. was just smashed by a vicious, greedy man. We were all out of town. In fact, we were helping David's mother move. The first thing I noticed when we pulled into our driveway was the back door. It had been jimmied open. Such a waste. The burglar tore up our entire house. He went through just smashing memories and destroying a lifetime of our personal treasures. It still makes me ill to think of all that needless destruction. I remember how upset the kids were. Their toys and belongings all gone or destroyed. Patty was afraid to be alone in the house for weeks. She cried the most over her posters. Brian didn't say much until he saw his G.I. Joe collection. See, the robber had thrown them into the tub and then set fire to the entire group. Brian's always taken such good care of his toys. And when he saw those pitiful soldiers, he just screamed. I don't know which was worse, Patty's tears or Brian's anger. And David, oh, poor David. David was like a robot. He just walked around, picking things up and then laying them back down. He couldn't even give the police a complete report of what was missing. I had to dig out the insurance files and do the whole thing myself. I'll say one thing, though. I learned where David's values were. The police hadn't even left before David hopped in his car, ran to the nearest department store, and bought a new color television. There was a football game on that night. He wasn't about to miss it over one little old robbery. But you know, that's the thing that bothered me the most. My family was grieving over material things. Televisions, stereos, posters, and toys. Oh, don't get me wrong. I was brokenhearted over my mama's china. But they were different in how they missed their things. All I could think of was how fortunate it was that we weren't home. A person sick enough to destroy our keepsakes would be sick enough to hurt us. I am so grateful that we were out of town. You know, I try to explain to my family that there's nothing more important than our lives. The other things are trivial compared to our safety. But you know, I'm still not certain I got through to them. You know, every magazine article I've read lately seems to focus on how much more responsibility most men are taking in the home. Every time I read that, I get more frustrated. David comes home from work expecting dinner on the table and a clean house. Sometimes I think he ignores the fact that I put in a full day at the office, that my salary pays half the bills around here. Oh, I guess he thinks he tries. He does vacuum and occasionally washes the dishes. I'm sure he tells his friends that he helps out around the house. But that's the problem. Helping means that he's assisting me, like the housework is primarily my responsibility. Boy, we have argued about this one for years. Nothing I do seems to convince him that he should be equally responsible for all the household duties. That includes the children. It just won't sink in.
There she goes again, reading another article in that magazine. Next, she'll get on her high horse and start complaining about the housework. I don't think she's being fair. My job demands a lot of concentration. And when I come home at night, all I want to do is relax and have a few free hours with my family. Whenever I get the chance, I do help. In fact, I cleaned up the kitchen every night last week and ran the vacuum through the whole house on Saturday. I can just hear my father if he saw me in an apron after a long day at work. The most he did was take out the garbage. Frankly, I wish Paula would quit her job and just take care of the house and the kids. But she'd have a fit if I ever mentioned it. I know she enjoys her job, And I guess we really do need her salary. But it's getting so I hate coming home anymore. I know as soon as I walk in, Paul's going to start in on me about the housework. We can't even talk about it anymore. We just end up in a shouting match over who's working the hardest.
Mom and Dad tell you what time they'll be home today?
No. Guess it'll be the usual. Why?
This made the best grades I've ever made in school today. All A's except for one B. Can't wait to show them, but they'll really be surprised.
He thinks they'll be surprised when they see his report card. Wait till they see mine. Boy, are they going to be really mad. I'll probably be grounded for the rest of my life. No phone, no TV, nothing. Maybe my parents will go out for dinner and they won't come home till real late. Yeah, and I could pretend like I'm really sick tomorrow. They might forget all about report cards. No way. Good old Brian's about to burst at the seams. He can't wait to bring up the subject of grades. Little creep. If I didn't have to watch him, I could go over to Becky's and spend the night. Maybe stay the whole weekend. And then I could go to school Monday and tell Miss Henley that I lost my report card. But I can't leave. I have to stay here with him. What am I going to do? I know I should have studied a little harder, but I had to make posters for the pep club. And then I had the annual staff. I was really busy. Mom and Dad won't understand. I wish I could dig a big hole and just crawl in it. It would be a lot easier than facing Mom and Dad tonight. One lousy report card, and I'm ruined for life. I think I'll call Becky. It might be the last phone call I'll ever get to make.
Mom, can I have a hamburger? I don't think I like dinner tonight.
What is this stuff? It looks like creamed cabbage. Gross. Why don't you at least take a bite of it? You won't know until you try it. Just try it. No way am I going to eat that junk. Dad, can we please go out and eat? Please?
Come on, kids. Your mom worked hard fixing dinner for you tonight. I don't think we should get up and leave.
I'm just going without dinner. I'm getting sick just looking at the table. May I please be excused?
They have no idea how much trouble it is to put together just one meal. I get so tired of cooking the same old things week after week after week. You know, I've gotten to where I watch what other mothers buy at the supermarket, looking for something new everyone will like. But every time I put out an extra effort and take the time to fix something new, my family acts like I've betrayed them. I feel like a machine, cooking the same meals, washing the same clothes, on somebody's case, day after day after day. Believe me, my family's happiness is the most important thing in my life. And I spend a lot of time making certain they have clean clothes to wear and good meals to eat. But I don't think they ever notice it till I do something they don't like. I guess if they showed more gratitude for the work I do for them, I could take all that petty criticism. But I hate feeling like I could be replaced so easily by a robot that would perform my tasks to their satisfaction. That's pretty depressing.
Cindy's mom and dad are getting a divorce, and she's gonna have to change schools. I know she's unhappy. I thought if I gave her some of my toys, she might feel better. Cindy said her mom and dad used to fight all the time. It made me wonder about my mommy and daddy. Sometimes they have terrible arguments, and they don't speak for days. I hope they're not getting a divorce. I don't think I could stand it. Sometimes they act real happy and talk about loving each other. But other times, it's like they hate each other more than anything in the world. I bet they wouldn't tell us, even if they were getting a divorce. Cindy didn't know until her father had already moved out. Her mom told her that her dad was on a business trip, but she finally had to tell her the truth. I thought about asking Daddy, but he gets home from work so late, and I don't want to bother Mommy. I went to a wedding one time with Mommy. The couple stood up in front of a church, all dressed up, and said they would love each other for the rest of their life. But then sometimes they get a divorce. If Mom and Dad did get a divorce, who would I live with? It sure would be hard to decide. It scares me when they fight. I hope they never get a divorce.
Finished. I wanted to surprise you, Patty. I knew you wanted something special to wear to the game. Try it on, see if it fits.
Now what am I going to do? What a gross sweater. The kids will just laugh me right out of school if I wear this old thing. Why did she make it anyway? We picked a great-looking pattern yesterday. She was supposed to make that sweater for me next week. Why did she give me this thing? Usually Granny knits really pretty sweaters. Of course, I always pick the pattern and the colors. Boy, did she blow it this time. I just can't wear this old thing. It would be so embarrassing. I can just hear Prissy Missy asking, "Where do you shop? The junkyard?" Man, she just shouldn't have made it without asking me. Next thing you'll know, she'll have me wearing Mickey Mouse gloves or something stupid like that. Thanks, Gran, but nobody wears sweaters like this anymore. Maybe Brian will like it. He might even wear it. He's always dressing weird.
You want a doll for Christmas? Brian, dolls are for girls, not big boys like you. When I was your age, all I could think about was hunting, fishing, and sports. I wouldn't have been caught dead with a doll.
Absolutely not, Brian. You're way too young to go to the movies by yourself. I know Patty's allowed to go alone, but she's a lot older than you are. I do not treat you like a baby, Brian. There are just some things you're not old enough to do by yourself yet. The subject's closed, Brian.
While I'm gone this week, you're going to be the man of the family. I want a good report from your mother and your sisters when I get back. I'm counting on you to take on a lot of responsibilities.
Ring around the rosies, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes. Go away, Brian. You're too big to play with us. You're too big.
Brian, your father has to work part of the day Saturday, and I need you to mow the yard. Well, I'm sure Tommy wouldn't mind if you came over to swim a little later. Now, Brian, I want you to mow the yard Saturday, period. It's time you started taking some responsibility around here, young man.
Amy, honey, don't cry. Daddy'll fix it. It's okay, sweetheart. I'm not angry. Yes, of course I still love you. He'll always be Daddy's baby.
Can't swim until your work is done. Too old to act that way.
Stop acting like a baby, Brian. It's time you started behaving more like a man.
You're not old enough.
I hope Amy doesn't find us. I want to get her pet hamster safely buried before she realizes it's gone.
I wonder if I should go get Amy. I think she should have a chance to at least say goodbye to Hazel.
If she notices Hazel's missing, I'll just tell her that the hamster fell in love and left home to start her own family.
I was going to have a long talk with Amy anyway. Explaining Hazel's death won't be pleasant or easy. But she needs to know the truth, not some crazy
Amy's too
story.
young to find out about death. She's just a baby. There's no way I could let her look in that shoebox. She'd be devastated.
We need to show her the hamster and how peaceful she looks. Amy's a strong little girl. She'd be able to handle it.
Of course, I could always tell her that the hamster's asleep. That's what I told Brian when the dog died, and he believed me. Amy would feel much better if she thought that Hazel's just asleep.
I know Amy'll be unhappy with the thought of her hamster dying, but she needs to know that something took her pet away. We had a dog for years. It was hit by a car. Somehow, though, Brian got it into his head that the dog had simply gone to sleep. For weeks, I had trouble getting him to go to bed. Finally, he confessed that he was afraid he'd go to sleep and never wake up either. When I explained to him what really happened, he was able to deal with it just fine. Just wonder where he got that crazy story about the dog going to sleep. Oh, he said something else. He said something about Tippy would wake up and fall in love and have a family. What will those kids think of next?
And the prince and the princess rode away in a beautiful white carriage, and they lived happily ever after. Boy, do I wish that was true. When I was Amy's age, Mom and Dad would read me fairy tales every night, and I would dream beautiful, magical dreams about where everyone was happy. But I'm finding out that's not always true. I mean, everyone's not always happy, and those stories, well, they're just stories. But it was nice to have Mom and Dad tuck me in. Isn't that dumb? Here I am, practically an adult, and wanting my mommy and daddy. I really had a crummy day at school today. First I was late and I got a demerit. Then I dropped my lunch all over my new skirt. I had to wear that thing all day. The worst thing was I made a D on my American history test. I really studied hard. Cheerleader tryouts are next month. I'll just die if I don't get elected. Prissy Missy's trying out again, and Debbie says she's sure to get it. That only leaves 2 places in my class. I just have to be a cheerleader next year. I wonder if Mom and Dad ever wanted anything really bad, and they didn't get it. My dad, he's so successful. And Mom, well, she wasn't a cheerleader. I wonder why. Maybe she wasn't pretty enough. Maybe I should ask her sometime. I don't ever talk to them anymore. They're always so busy during the day. And nighttime, around here, it's crazy. Dinner, homework, picking out what I'm going to wear. There's never any time to tell them anything. Oh well, I do like being grown up. But I'm old enough to realize that life isn't a fairy tale.
guess what? I hit a homer today. Boy, you should have seen it. It went clear over the fence. And I batted in 2 runs. We won.
That's great, Brian. I'm really proud of you. What a champ. You'll be ready for the majors any day. Watch out, Brian. I'm trying to read the newspaper. Why don't you run in and tell your mom the good news? This calls for a treat.
I wish David could see himself. He acts just like his father. Harvey never was big on showing affection with his children either. He thought real men kept a stiff upper lip. I can't recall his ever hugging or kissing the boys, not once. And here's David repeating the same mistakes his father made. Amy spends half of her time in his lap, but not Brian. David can't seem to express any affection at all to Brian. Of course, if I told him he was being macho, he'd give me a long lecture on how liberated he is. What a bunch of bunk. Fact is, he was taught that men don't cry and men don't hug, at least not their sons. And Brian will probably grow up the same way. David's missing out on so much. I know what it feels like to have a little boy in my lap and hug and kiss him, and guess what? It feels wonderful. Every child craves affection. In fact, I think most of them need love as much as they need food and water. Oh, I realize that David loves Brian, and Brian knows he's loved. But David would get just as much out of a big bear hug as Brian would. I wish David would just let down his defenses, throw away his tough guy mask, and really open up to Brian. He might be surprised how much is locked up in that little fort of self-defense of his.
Careful, Brian. Don't drop that. Hun, can you take this out, too?
Sure, Mom, no problem.
Good, thanks.
All we've got to do is get the car loaded, and then we can spend a whole day at the lake. I can't wait.
Good.
What a great idea. It's been such a long time since we all went to the lake together. I can get a great tan. This is the best idea Mom and Dad have had in a long time. I even made brownies last night to take with us.
Here, sweetheart, carry this out to your daddy. I'll be out in a minute. Thank you. You know, it took the entire family to get this trip organized. We cooked last night, we packed and checked the car this morning, and now we're off. The kids were absolutely wonderful. I'm really proud of them. They chipped in and worked like real troopers. Even little Amy did her share. It is so much easier when everyone takes part in the work. Just makes the day that much more enjoyable. We've all made a contribution, so now we'll all enjoy a chance to get away. You know, times like this make the whole effort of raising a family worth the trouble. Looking back over the years, I don't remember that many of the bad days, but I certainly remember the good times we've had together. I love my family. You know what? I can't think of anybody else in the whole world I'd want to spend a day at the lake with. In fact, I can't think of anybody else in the world I'd want to spend my life with. Sometimes it takes a lot of trouble to be a family. Even to have good times together takes some effort. But when everyone shares the load, it not only lightens the burden, it makes us a unit. We work together like a team, and we're sewn together like a family.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Family Time Out, and that the problems we've presented have helped your family open a new line of communication. This tape is the first in a library of Family Time Out productions. Upcoming editions will focus on other contemporary conflicts and issues, and each one will be created with the same goal: improving communication within your family. Your response to what you've just seen would be very helpful in planning future Family Time Out editions. We'd like to know how you feel about the scenarios you've just finished watching. Were the topics interesting? The characters realistic? Do you like the Madison family? Do you have any suggestions on improving the series? We'd also like to know what issues affect your family. How can those issues best be presented? Are there other characters you'd like to see developed? Please help us with your feedback. Send your comments on this edition and suggestions for future presentations to Family Timeout, 1813 8th Avenue South, Nashville, Tennessee, 37203. Thank you for spending some time with us. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope we've helped bring your family a little closer together.